Hello and welcome along to our Tour de France review program. It's the second rest day of this year's race and a welcome respite for the riders following the rigours of Mont Ventoux. It's a brutal stage that Al Hines from Cycling Central has been waiting for all year. Al, welcome to the Tour de France couch.
Thanks, Bash. Yeah, it was a spectacular day to take us into the rest day, and still I think a good tour ahead of us. Some really big mountains ahead in the Alps.
I think you love the punishment, and I'm not sure Henk Vogels has any affection for the tour's longest stage. Henk, good to see you again.
Yeah, no affection for the mountains, but certainly a lot of affection for the tour.
But as the hard man of the peloton, Henk, you've got some competition tonight from our special guest, former Wallaby star and passionate cycling enthusiast, Simon Poitevin. Simon, welcome along.
Great to be here.
It's fantastic to have you, and it's also hello to our studio audience. The fans make the Tour de France, and they're ready to grill the panel very shortly on a range of issues. You can also join the conversation from home using Twitter and the hashtag SBSTDF. Please send us your thoughts. But before we look at stage 15, Simon, you've got your own unique Mont Ventoux experience. Tell us about it.
Well, for my 50th, my lovely wife Robin said, you just go to the Tour de France with a few mates. So I thought that was a good idea. And we thought we'd have a training camp beforehand before we joined the tour. And so we flew across. We had a great time on the plane. We had a great time on the train going down to where we were going. One mate had a fantastic chateau which overlooked Ventoux. So we had a great dinner as well. We thought, next day, this is fine. This is going to be a piece of cake.
So not the ideal preparation?
Not the ideal preparation.
Well, it depends who you're talking about here, aren't we?
Yeah. But everything they described about it was true, and I was in a world of pain. It was just incredible. Once I got through the forest and saw where I needed to get to, it was all right. But before that, I was gone.
Well, tonight you're Simon Poitevin, OK, in honour of the Tour de France. But what about stage 15, Henk? In your view, was that one of the great Ventoux wins in the Tour's history, Chris Froome's victory?
I certainly think so. I think we saw Froome really show what he can do on the climbs. I mean, he's been doing it for a couple of years now, but the speed that he rode up there yesterday was pretty impressive, and I think that every person that likes riding hills would have enjoyed last night's coverage, because he certainly was going incredibly quick up that climb.
That's uphill.
Yeah, that certainly is uphill, and I can ride that fast on flat, but certainly not that fast uphill. But yeah, he really, and I hate to use the word stamped his authority, but yeah, how he won it yesterday was pretty emphatic, so yeah, it was amazing.
And it was set up at the bottom by Sky, and they rode tempo. They just got everyone bar Quintana completely out of the race, and then you thought maybe this 59-kilogram Colombian can hold off Sky, and Sky suddenly was sort of the bad guys, I guess, and you sort of were hoping that maybe the Colombian would win the stage, but Froome was just too powerful. Especially that top bit of Ventoux, it does slightly flatten off a bit, and I think it probably favoured Froome a little bit more towards the end, and that's where he just sort of motored away from Quintana. And Quintana had a massive ride, but look, he's only 23. He's going to get better. Chris Froome's 28. Is at the peak of his powers. Was it a surprise that he won? I don't think so, really.
And the physiology, look at the length of his limbs and the levers he's got there, and the cadence he can get in. Plus the fact, he was born at altitude, and so was the guy from Colombia as well. So that might have something to do with they're so good at that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But behind him, early on the climb, there was some carnage, wasn't there? Cadel Evans and Andy Schleck, they really went backwards at a rate of knots.
No, they certainly did, and those guys, I certainly wouldn't say they're done, but yesterday they got put in their place completely. I mean, you see Andy Schleck here riding about as fast as I did up there, and going off the road there. I mean, I went up there 8 or 9 kilometres an hour myself, but Cadel's always the warrior, tried to fight on as much as he could. But he just hasn't got it in this year's tour. I don't know if the Giro's had anything to do with that, but might have cooked it up a bit. But these other teams went out and they smashed Sky during the week. They haven't been hanging around. They know that he's the best. That Froome's the best. They had to go on the counter this week, and they really did. So they're probably paying for it a little bit, and Froome's ridden away.
I thought the irony of the stage was Phil Liggett's commentary saying that Nairo Quintana has got the poker face, doesn't show his emotion. During the ride, that's the case, but after the ride, after the stage finished, he virtually collapsed.
Yeah, amazing scenes. I mean, it just shows you how much these mountains take out of you. And I think we saw Peter Kenyak lower down the slopes, pretty much go to a stop before this. But then, you know, Quintana, right after the stage, surrounded by media, sucking the oxygen pretty much out of his lungs. And, you know, it's no surprise almost that he's fainting there. This happens to a lot of people. This is a mountain that's taken a toll on you know, a human toll.
I must ask the question to Henk, because Dave Brailsford from Team Sky's had to wear a lot of pressure and scepticism about Chris Froome's performances. How do you view that? Froome himself has said, I'm no cheat, Lance Armstrong's a cheat, but I ride clean. What's your view on the whole issue?
My view is I think that the scepticism isn't warranted, because this team has been the best team all year and all of last year. And I think that Sky, you've seen how human they are this week. That never happened in the postal era. He's been fourth in the Vuelta, second to Wiggins last year, and they had the reins on him, like, woo boy, can't get back here, got to stay with our team leader. So it's just his time to shine. He is the best climber. You see him, he looks like a bloody praying mantis when he goes uphill with, you know, long arms and long legs. You know, he's built to climb. OK, he's not a 55-kilogram Colombian, but he's probably not too much more when you look at him. He's skinny, he climbs well. He won Paris-Nice, he won in March, April, May, June, and now he's winning in July. He didn't just rock up the tour and win. He's been winning for years.
He's been consistent for a long time, and I think that's what people maybe forget. You know, it's not like he's always been a good climber. I think, you know, in a way, with Lance, it was certainly a suggestion that he transformed from this one-day rider into a stage race rider. You know, Froome has always been good. You know, we were talking just the other day about how he was, you know, at the Sun Tour and winning on Falls Creek as a real youngster. And, you know, when he joined Sky, he was only 24, and that's very young. You know, he's now at the peak of his powers. He's 28. He's had Grand Tours behind him. He served his apprenticeship last year, and
I think it's a real slap in the face for Sky to say, listen, how can we believe you? But, you know, that's somebody else's fault. That's not cyclists.
And maybe the unsung hero there is Tim Kerrison, who's done a fantastic job for the team 2 years in a row. And going back, you know, the last mountain stage, they were in a world of problems. He's analysed that, he's got on top of it, and, mate, he's just come through the good.
And how smart is Team Sky, you know, hiring Rogers and Port?
OK, let's have a quick look at the GC standings. And we know Chris Froome has gone a long way to securing this Tour de France of 2013, but a long way to go yet. Belema in second place, Contador, Kruziger. Quintana's had a very good tour on his debut, down to Martin in 10th. And the Aussie standings, well, we know that Michael Rogers, after a very good effort up Mont Ventoux, is the top-placed Australian. Cadel Evans is the only other Aussie in the top 20. And Mike Tomalaris now joins us in transit on the rest day. Mike, before we get to the riders, the fans on Ventoux were amazing. We've always had characters follow the race, but is that the wildest and wackiest crowd you've experienced?
Oh, Bash, the fans, they're great at the Tour de France. They come from all over the world, the fans. You know, you see the flags of the different countries, and you see the suits from the different lunatics that line the mountain. And Mont Ventoux was no exception. Pigs, mankinis, you name it, Basher, you'd probably fit quite nicely on the slopes of Ventoux with some of the get-up that you've got at home, I'm sure. Oh,
very unfair, Mike. I've got a very standard wardrobe, I might add. In your view, is his performance up Mont Ventoux the winning move for Chris Froome at this year's Tour?
It looks like it, doesn't it? He's got a commanding lead of some 4.5 minutes now. He was always the pre-Tour favourite, Bash. I guess I am a little bit surprised that he has dominated this race the way he is at the moment, given the fact that he's got a depleted team around him. But, you know, Chris Froome, just an extraordinary cyclist, and he learned a lot from his experiences with Bradley Wiggins 12 months ago when Wego won the Tour de France. He's come out of that race last year much more confident, much stronger, and he's superior. There's no doubt about it. And he's proven that he doesn't need a good team around him to win the Tour de France. He can do it all on his own. But let's not forget, Bash, there's still 6 days of racing, 6 horrible days through the French Alps. And I've been saying this for a while now. It's never over, the Tour de France, until you actually cross the finish line. Anything can happen between now and Sunday.
Yep, things can change pretty quickly. But other than Quintana, were you surprised by the lack of challenges to Froome on stage 15?
Yeah, I was. I was surprised by the lack of challenges to Chris Froome. Alberto Contador surprised me that he's not quite there as he was when he won the Tour de France twice. What's the reason for that? Maybe Al Hines knows the answer to that question.
Yeah, well, Tomo, thanks. Basho, I mean, I think Contour has been quite consistent since his return from suspension in last year in August when he went on to win the Vuelta. He never was the rider that he had been at that Vuelta, and he sort of won it through a bit of tactical nous, but never the strength that we've seen in the past. And I think he's sort of the same rider at this year's Tour. I mean, let's not forget he's still third overall, so he's not doing too badly.
And Mike, finally, after the rest day, there's a medium stage into Gap. Can we expect any of the Green Edge riders to figure?
Yeah, look, I think we might. Orica Green Edge have done a superb job in the first week of the Tour. The stage wins, the yellow jersey. Michael Albacini came so close to winning a stage a couple of days ago into the city of Lyon. And I think if they can pull off something into Gap, it's a course that might suit the likes of Alba or even Cameron Meyer, although Cameron is getting quite tired and quite sore. But there are some riders in that team, perhaps Daryl Impey, who can pull off another win. This race is not over for Orica. If they can score a victory into the city of Gap tomorrow, well, they can close up shop and look back at 2013 as a successful Tour de France.
That is Mike Tomalaris on his rest day. And Simon, I must ask you about, your efforts up Mont Ventoux. How does that compare with the hardest moments you've experienced in a Wallabies jersey?
Different challenges, but up there with the hardest thing I've ever done. And in fact, last week we rode Melbourne to Sydney with a group of ex-British and Irish Lions, and Mike Teague, who was the player of the '89 series, really Iron Mike, tough guy. End of the first day, he's gone, that's the hardest thing I've done in my life. And then I said, mate, there's only more 6 days of it, it's fine. And he was carrying a bit of extra, and pushing 120 keg guy up a hill's not that easy when you're sort of...
It's hard for you too then.
It's a great leveller, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, that's great. And, well, let's now head to a break with some of the more creative and colourful spectators on Mont Ventoux. We'll see you soon.